right, so the title for our little YouTube video today is Helplessness and Hopelessness. How conversations with a Kelowna therapist can help you find some hope again and take back some control of your life. So many people in Kelowna experience helplessness and hopelessness at different times in their life. Sometimes it's one of these feelings at a time. Other times, both of these are happening at the exact same time. These feelings can make everyday tasks feel impossible and drain the joy from the things that you once loved. And they can have you stuck in this stagnation or backward sliding in life, or like a sense of it. And that's not to say that one must always have forward movement and an improving quality of life across time, but rather it's more so an assumption on my part that that's the majority of people's preference. It's not only an assumption on my part, but just the brain, even if it has everything, it always likes to see even a little bit better in certain areas. But so what these emotions do is they slow down life, which it has its time and place to do. But this can happen to a point where things get stuck and gaining back momentum becomes increasingly difficult. Pressure to advance, regrets for not doing so compound over time. But the good news is that you don't have to face these emotions alone, or the thoughts, or the behaviors. A therapist like me can help guide you towards real relief and lasting change, help you understand yourself and discover insights to underwrite your own path forward. This article, or rather this video, I'm reading the article that I wrote up. This article is going to explain what helplessness and hopelessness are, how they show up in daily life, and some practical ways to move forward. So if you're searching for a therapist who truly understands these emotions, my name is Tim Lamont. I'm here in Kelowna, British Columbia, and I'm both the founder and therapist of Unyielding Health and Wellness. All right, so as we get into it, what does feeling hopeless and helpless mean? Well, helplessness focuses on the present moment and the future, where there's this belief that your actions do not matter right now, nor into the future. But there's still at least a little bit of hope that things will change, either by, you personally kind of stumbling upon a solution, or it could be that the problem just goes away on its own. Bury your head in the sand, or like an ostrich or what have you. I don't even know if they actually do that. That was something as a kid you always heard, but I've never honestly seen it, I don't think. Or via the contributions of other people helping out with this. Hopelessness, on the other hand, goes one step further and convinces you that things will never get better. That improvement is an impossibility, and nothing you nor anyone else tries into the future will benefit you regarding this situation or circumstance. In this sense, both emotions are often associated with negative feelings. I don't know anybody who really loves feeling these ways. However, hopelessness is often considered the worst of the two. But both feelings are common responses to prolonged stress, significant loss, repeated setbacks. However, hopelessness often comes into one's life after an extended period of helplessness and repeated attempts to remedy or adjust to a situation that have debatably failed so far. So why does a person feel so helpless or hopeless? Again, they often stem from a repeated experience where effort did not lead to change. Life events like job loss, relationship struggles, health concerns, financial stress, all of these can trigger these emotions, just to name a few of them. But in essence, there's a significant time element that contributes to these feelings, like a depth to them, differentiating them from momentary sadness or fear. And just as time goes on, these emotions somewhat become entrenched. Sadness often joins helplessness or hopelessness when you're disappointed in the way that things have turned out. Grieve the life or the outcome that you would have wanted. Fear can also be associated with these feelings, as there's often a fear of failure, a fear of the outcome one feels helpless or hopeless to address as well. That sadness or fear develops into helplessness or hopelessness over time, or is just part of the broader umbrella that these emotions encompass and make up a significant portion of the range of felt emotions one experiences in periods of helplessness or hopelessness. Sadness and fear are components of it. There can be anger at times. There can be disappointment. There can be bits of hope mixed in with the hopelessness as well, where you have this spark of hope, but it's quickly consumed up by it. That's in essence that one. So what are some of the risks, but also the rewards of feeling helpless or hopeless? So these feelings are often never considered pleasant, yet these emotions do serve a purpose. They push us towards specific behaviors that are meant to protect us in some way. But the brain doesn't overly care if you feel comfortable if it interprets a lack of safety. It just wants the safety. Understanding both sides can help you respond with some more self-compassion. And there's a very fine line between some of the benefits of these emotions and then and we'll often talk about it on my social media, on my channels, but all these emotions serve some sort of purpose. It's when they're dialed up to 9, 10, where there's no hope left, there's no trust in oneself to see something through. That's when they start to become just counterproductive to their initial intention. But sometimes also they're very legitimate responses, and we'll kind of get into that. But there's almost a time element of be helpless or hopeless for that long. It might have made sense to do it for a period of time, but now it's not really serving you any. But so what are some rewards or positive points or strengths of these emotions? So these feelings act as important signals that something in your life needs attention, a natural internal alarm that current strategies have run their course, and that the old ways of coping, pushing, or pretending are just no longer sustainable. Essentially, you're at the end of the road. Number 2, they compel us to pause and assess what's happening, creating space, conserving resources, something new to emerge, and the energy to commit to it when and if so that happens. They can motivate a person to reach out for support and increase the depth and quality of their relationships by building empathy, emotional wisdom. And although sometimes building wisdom is often a painful process, but it is a component of, a wise person must often experience the things and then relay them their interpretations. And so you would not consider a child overly wise who hasn't experienced a lot of aspects of life, but an older person who has, you might be more likely to. And that person probably went through a lot of great pains in their life, also a lot of joys though as well. But this wisdom, this empathy, it helps make you more connected and supported as you adjust, and then more understanding towards other people who are struggling into the future. Oh, sorry, I kind of misspoke there, but when you reach out for support and increasing the depth and quality of your relationships, that's the component that helps you feel more connected and supported as you adjust or change. But then on the other side of this, you're going to have that understanding, that knowledge, that wisdom that you can potentially relay towards others who are in your same or a similar situation into the future. And then, when they're reaching out for help, you'll be able to connect with them, again, adding more depth, connection in your life. And then lastly, for the kind of positive aspects of these emotions, is that when they're overcome, and it will happen, when you are on the other side of them and you are able to personally understand that these feelings are rarely permanent, this can add to your sense of resilience, your personal agency. As you go about and pursuing other goals in your life into the future, these feelings may often arise many times through a person's life. But now the next time that it does, you'll have that much more understanding, that much more insight into this situation of what to do, what was helpful for you, etc. Some very noisy people in the hallway. But all right, so some risks of these emotions. So on the other hand, right, these emotions are often associated with feelings of negativity, the risks of them trapping you in inaction. Over time, they lower your motivation, make even small decisions feel impossible, and this often leads to that sense of feeling stuck or backsliding in life. So when helplessness and hopelessness persist, they can fuel this almost downward spiral. The brain starts to withdraw energy from motivation, pleasure, future thinking. Again, these are all geared towards conserving resources, but there's a time and a place for that. Over time, this can lead to depression, emotional numbness, loss of connection to what once really mattered to that person. It's a vicious and almost insidious cycle of when someone does give a little bit of effort, but they're in this diminished state. So it's a diminished effort. It might not be enough to make any real change, but that effort feels pretty big to them. But it leads to no change, making effort in the future even less likely. And so it almost compounds on itself over time, and that's how people get stuck in these feelings. This belief that nothing will help or I'm alone in this will often cause people to pull away from relationships, support, even daily responsibilities like work or things with their family, friends. Isolation then reinforces that hopelessness, because then you don't have outside perspective as often. You don't have help. This again creates this painful feedback loop that as someone else might be able to, as someone might hope that someone else could help me with this or to solve this in some way. But as your connections are diminished, that hope is diminished as well, kind of transmuting from helplessness into hopelessness. When someone does feel helpless, basic self-care, whole body health, so this could be sleep, appetite, physical health, are often all negatively affected. Motivation to do the basic activities of daily living gets removed from the menu. And so again, you can see what's the point? What's the point in brushing my teeth? There's nothing I can do anyway. And that might be a bad example, but yeah, it's just, and it might not start necessarily with teeth brushing. It might start with, what's the point in wearing clean clothes to work? I'm never getting them. What's the point in getting my hair cut, showering regularly, what have you? And then over time, it kind of chips away. And so eventually you might say to yourself, what's the point in brushing my teeth? Can't be bothered, really. And then this prolonged hopelessness is also one of the strongest predictors of suicide, actually. When a person no longer sees any viable path forward, nor that there's any hope of a path kind of springing up or walking by one, the mind begins to consider ending the pain as the only remaining option, and this risk should never be minimized. That is something where, in my own therapy practice, really, if someone says, I have no hope for the future, it's concerning. Dig into that one, assess. Normally it's often followed by, well, why are you here sitting with me in the first place if you have no hope? If you truly have no hope. But so all this aside, well, I guess not all of it aside, but so that's helplessness and hopelessness. But so what do you do about it? Right? It's a great thing to know about it, that you're feeling this way. It's great to know that you feel horrible. But what are you going to do about it? What can you do? So here are some practical strategies that I recommend as a Kelowna therapist to begin moving out of helplessness. Helplessness is often addressed by completing tasks or steps towards goals. Rebuilding proof that your actions do matter. Trusting yourself to be able to complete something that you sought out to do. And we'll go down farther and do hopelessness. But so the first little thing to try out if you're feeling helpless, it's called chunking. There's probably a few different words for that other than chunk, but breaking tasks into the smallest of tasks. It's important that they're small enough that you're able to do it. For example, instead of thinking about everything you want to do in a given day, choose one tiny action at a time, such as making your bed or stepping outside for 5 minutes. Again, if how you've broken it down still seems daunting or undoable, break it down further. Make a quarter of the bed. Open up a window in your home. Just do something. Make a to-do list and open the window is on it. Do something. Prove that you can begin to do these things. Often it's an exponential curve. Some people what on earth is that going to help me with? But, these little things in a month, some people are then out there doing a 5K walk every day. It starts small, but it's that building momentum, this critical phase. The second thing that helps with helplessness is disputing it, arguing with yourself, asking, where's the proof that I'm entirely helpless? Is it true that in every area of my life I've failed? Perhaps in this one area of my life I'm currently helpless or at a loss of things to do, but I'm not a helpless person. This simple exercise interrupts that spiral of helplessness, of those intrusive thoughts, those racing thoughts, and demands this feeling to provide evidence. It's kind of using logic to target at it. And you don't necessarily have to have the perfect question, the perfect answer, response from the side of yourself. But as this conversation with yourself goes on, the side of you that believes you're helpless will often shout out exactly what it would need to not feel that way. Right? It'll shout out, what do I need? Do I need more knowledge? Do I need more skills? Do I need more support? What do I need? What do I need to prove? And then the third little thing to help if you're feeling helpless is nature and imagery. You don't have to be in nature, but it has a healing capacity all on its own. And so I encourage this one to be in nature. Find a park or a trail bench, sit there for 10 minutes, no more, no less. Then use your imagination to look at what your life would look like if you were able to get past this. Take as many of these mental imagery breaks as you need until there's enough of an image formed that then you work backwards from. Do you need more information? Do you need different skills or resources? Slowly work backwards from your ideal future, so beginning with the end in mind, to today, and notice what steps are between where you're at and where you want to be. So this next one is focused on what to do if you feel hopeless. These are, again, 3 practical strategies I recommend as a Kelowna therapist to begin moving out of hopelessness. and it needs a slightly different approach. These tools help more so rebuild a sense of possibility. So the first one is to schedule one pleasurable and meaningful activity each day. It could be something small, again, small and doable, but it could be a walk along the walk. It could be listening to music, to plant a plant. This pleasure creates a crack in that hopelessness and reminds you that good moments are still possible. However, don't forget to understand and understand what you're doing and why is it pleasurable to me? What do I value out of it? Is there some sort of meaning to it? Is it the nature? Is it the social connection? Is it watching that little plant grow? What is it? What's the meaning in my life? That meaning component or value component to this small pleasurable activity, it's a strong counter to that hopelessness. The second piece on how to deal with hopelessness is to connect with someone. Send a short message, meet for coffee, someone you trust, a good friend. If you have no one to reach out to, make an effort just to ask someone how their day's going in the elevator, on the sidewalk, at the mall. Just some sort of connection. And if even that is too much, then, if even that is too much, then simply smiling at a person as you make eye contact and smile with them as you walk on the sidewalk. That social connection reminds you that your brain, that you're not alone in this. Even if it sounds daunting, like if any sort of connection with anybody sounds very daunting, I encourage you to go watch a YouTube video on it. If you're on the blog in my site, I have a link to just a simple video where someone put a really nice message on some chocolate bars and handed them out to people. And there's a lot of smiles and laughter and just connection, and humans are a very social species. We crave it and we get energized and we can kind of soak it in, even if we're not directly experiencing it. So if you're not even at the point where you can make eye contact with another person, go watch a YouTube video on it. Yeah, and see what happens. See if there's any little sparks. And then lastly, if you're feeling hopeless, and it's one of the hardest things to do, but it's to act, to engage with your life. Write something down that you can do in your life, that you have control over, that you're willing to do. Do one of these things each hour of the day, whether they take up that full hour or 1 minute. It's very similar to chunking. But these things do not have to be related in any way to what you're dealing with, but rather you're going to be acting with intention, exerting control where you have it, to help counter these feelings of powerlessness that often accompanies hopelessness. Each night, write down 3 small things that went okay, even if they were tiny. This kind of is going to train your mind over time to notice the fact that there is possibility again. Okay, and then lastly, or a couple of just little ones, like, when should you seek help from a Kelowna therapist? So if helplessness or hopelessness lasts more than a couple of weeks, it's affecting your sleep, your appetite, your relationship, or begins to include thoughts of harm in any way, it's time to reach out. A Kelowna therapist can help you understand and untangle these feelings, create a more personalized plan, helps you move forward with your goals with the right tools. Understanding yourself and the difference between these two helps prevent you from feeling completely stuck. And then recognizing them is one of the first steps towards healing, followed closely by permission to feel them fully. That there's not a lot of options right now, but you can still figure it out. Now, accepting that perhaps you are in a tenuous position in your life, whether it's work, finances, your relationships. It might be the reality that it's a very difficult, sticky situation, but when someone has this perception that they're powerless to do anything of that, it's not a fun place to be. You're already in this tenuous situation, and now your hands are let go and it's out of control. Doesn't sound very fun, but that permission to feel it and to accept that I'm in this position is a component of getting through it and getting around it. But from there, we can begin to have a conversation about what these feelings are asking of us, what they're warning us about. As a therapist, I'll often help clients weigh and understand the requests of their emotions, of their self, so they can then use these emotions as signals rather than noise, while gently reducing the defeating and counterintuitive effects of the emotional extremes. All risk, all reward. That's kind of, again, another one of the things is just, recognizing patterns, interrupting automatic responses, choosing healthier, self-helping thoughts and actions instead. That's often done, like looking for patterns. When does this show up? So how Unyielding Health and Wellness supports clients in Kelowna? I'm not gonna read that one, but basically just as a Kelowna therapist, I offer compassionate, evidence-based mental health therapy right here in the Okanagan. I offer it in person, online. The sessions are going to focus on discovering more about yourself, increasing your self-understanding, supporting you along the way as you're in that discovery zone. It's bravery, it's striving, it's going into the unknown, the scary parts of your mind, of your life. And so it's going to be support along that journey as well. And then, it's not only going to be discovery and support. It's like, well, then what do I do about it? Part of the thing part of my practice as a therapist is providing people some practical tools, some things to try out at the end of every session. Tying a knot off the session. It's like, okay, go try this out. It's new. It's different. It's not the same old pattern every day. I have some little notes jotted down too here. Sometimes with helplessness, there is this feeling where you're stuck in between the regret that is going to haunt you later on in the day, in the night, but then also this sense of pressure to do something to help out my situation. It's like the morning or the afternoon, there's still time in the day, but you don't know what to do. You gotta do something, right? There's this pressure, but the next steps are unclear, or you don't have the energy to do them. And then it's just closely followed by pressure, regret. All right, next day, pressure, regret, pressure, regret, pressure, regret. It's kind of like, again, we spoke earlier about this umbrella of the emotions, depression, anxiety, this pressure, this regret. It's all part of it, of this feeling. Another component of these emotions that kind of keeps people stuck in them, keeps them entrenched, is that you get what you're looking for in life. It can be a self-defeating pattern or tendency of looking at all the negatives and how something could go wrong, rather than the self-helping pattern of looking at how it could go right. And the thing about everything is that it always gets easier with practice, so be careful what you practice. Another one is finding the little joys in life, being more mindful and present. Most people, even in the most hopeless of cases, still can feel joy in some small way. But again, over time, it becomes willingness to try to find new things decreases. And so a component of like hopelessness, depression as well, it's just continuing to try to do things despite maybe not feeling excited to do them or getting any joy of them. Because if one waits until they feel joy again in life or feel happy, it can take a long time, especially if they're in this pattern of never leaving their house, never doing anything that might give them some joy. But when someone's continually trying out new things, even if they're not necessarily enjoying it, they're just going through the motions of that process. They might stumble upon something. They see a beautiful flower. They see the whole valley waking up in the spring and it's gorgeous out there. And take a moment and just appreciate maybe even where they are in the world. They might be having these feelings, might be going through hell, but at least they're in a beautiful part of the world perhaps. And just that little shred and still like that there's still like hope for something. It's so critical. Another thing is expressing gratitude towards these emotions. It's your ambitious side, and not in all cases when it involves loss, often isn't your ambitious side, but when it comes to goals, to relationships, career, it's often your ambitious side that's underwriting these feelings. It wants more for you. You want more for you. A person who wants more out of life feels these emotions. Someone who's content where they are would simply not. They wouldn't feel helpless to change their situation. They're not seeking out change. And so it kind of highlights logically that there's some sort of fire or drive in you somewhere that's either screaming or whispering for more when you're feeling helpless or hopeless. And so if that's the case, you can thank it. You can thank that part of you that must believe somewhere that there's something more for you in life that you can do. But it's this counterintuitive, dialed up to 8, 9, 10 on the degrees of the felt emotion. It starts to become counterproductive. This is somewhat of it might be pretty darn cheesy, but you can believe in a better future if you're feeling these ways. It can be as hard as anything to focus on that. Right now, you're floating adrift. If you have no hope, you're completely helpless. About anything that you can do, nothing matters. But you can still believe, right? That you will figure it out. These emotions imply absolutes. And there's that phrase, nothing in life is guaranteed. And normally that phrase is reserved for the loss of something positive. However, it goes both ways. It's not ever a guarantee that these emotions will persist forever. And so just believing in yourself that eventually you'll figure it out it's also something that you can do to help. And it's kind of counterintuitive because it's a hard ask. It's a hard ask to do that when someone's feeling this way. But they can believe in themselves and wake up and go through the motions and live in the gray, live with these emotions for a period of time. And again, continue to work to believe that eventually something will get better. But that's the end of my little video. I'm going to be editing it with this thing called Opus Clip. I think that's how I'm going to be doing my videos going forward. And so I'm hoping it'll help me increase the pace that I can put out the videos and do some cool AI B-roll stuff, transitions instead of sharp cuts. We'll see how it goes. And so if you're watching this and you watched it to the end, thank you. Yeah, let's see what this Opus Clip will do.